February 14th, welcome back to Edgework. I'm Zack Phillips, and what better group of people to be spending my Valentine's Day with than Alex Moretto and Matt Alber. What a lovely morning, gentlemen. Happy to see your faces. We'll get into the 3 NHL games for tonight. We'll break down those. We'll give out our best bets, as well as recap the night that we had last night. Look, no matter what happens here on the show, good nights, bad nights, we're going to be honest. We're going to be transparent. We're going to recap all of those. So a 2-7 night for us last night, but we'll break it all down here as well as some Slavkovsky talk, some Slavkovsky, or as Alber and I thought, something else here this morning when Moretto hopped on. We'll talk about some suspension stuff. We'll talk about some Shesterkin talk. Rangers Talk Radio will get underway here. So a lot to get through during today's show. But before we can get to any of that, I want to remind people that today's show, as always, is sponsored by Betstamp. The easiest way to improve as a sports bettor is by using multiple sports books and always getting the best odds, and we recommend using an odds comparison tool like Betstamp to help you do so. Betstamp compares odds across every sports book, whether it's for games, futures, or player props. You can save time and money by checking Betstamp before you bet, so make sure to download the app today. It is available on iOS, Android, as well as on the web. And if you are looking to sign up for a new sportsbook account, please check out the offers available at betstamp.app/edgework. That's betstamp.app/edgework. The link is available in the description of the show as well, so make sure to check that out. But Moretto, let's first and foremost go to this 2-7 night last night. I mean, as tough as that was for us, we're still 235, 234, and 5 on the year. So record is what it is, whatever. Slightly above 500 there, slightly, but that's not what's important. We're a 6% ROI. We're up 28 units on the season, so we'll still carry that through. Take us through the 2-7 night last night. What happened there? And what are we going to do to improve it here today?
Yeah, conveniently, Russell's not here to defend his 0-3 night on side, so I got to just take that one on the fucking chin. Russell had the Preds, Caps, Blues. Weren't even close. Not one of them. My sides, I had the Jackets and the Ducks. Weren't even close. Not one of them. So pretty abysmal night. On sides, I pretty much as bad as it could possibly get. Not one of those had a chance to get home. So that's awesome. That's what you like to see. So glad we could give those ones out. In terms of totals, Lightning Bruins under gets home. Canucks Hawks over gets home. Oilers Wings under. I called that the Wings. I'm just not going to win a Wings total this year. So fuck the Wings. Glad we could lose that one with 12 goals. It's just disgusting. Yeah. Just not even doubled the total. Basically, honestly, the results are completely warranted outside of the only one that I think maybe deserved better was Devils Preds over 6.5. There we got a plus money. There were over 7 goals scored, or 7 expected goals generated at 5-on-5 in that game. It was very high event game like we expected. Over 9 expected goals in all situations. Saros just turned back the clock. What can I say? 2.3 goals saved above expected. I said this is going to be a high event game, and I don't trust either goalie to necessarily deny us the goal. I basically asked for that one. Saros 2.3 goals saved above expected, and then of course we get Nico Dawes, who started the night before in their game. I expected Schmid or Vanacek for sure. I thought Vanacek. Can't believe they started Dawes both games on a back-to-back. He just stabs a knife in a little bit more with 1.15 goals saved above expected. So deserved better there. Did not deserve better on any of the other 4 or 5 losses, whatever it was. Just a miserable night, and I'm happy to move on from that and not talk about it again.
Well, yeah, and then the other one was, as a show, we had for Russell there, we had Blues money line, and that was obviously played in the morning prior to injury news. But I know myself, Alber also jumped on that one, so that was quite unfortunate. I know we played that one right ahead of game time, and just for the Leafs, it's I mean, from both sides. First of all, you had the Leafs who come out, no Morgan Rielly, no Mitch Marner, no John Tavares, and they play probably the best defensive game that we've seen them play this season. They allow 15 shots on goal. So I'm sitting there just thinking to myself, fucking great. You see the St. Louis Blues basically entered the Leafs zone, I think 3 times, Alber, in the first period. They have 2 shots on goal, if that, at that point. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, this is very typical Leafs. And then Bobby McMahon, the McMahon game, guy has a hat trick last night to win that one. So I know we were both on the opposite side there where we had the Blues, so unfortunate result. But Hey,
Yeah, I
look,
did not have the Bobby McMahon hat trick on the bingo card last
no,
night going into the game. It was funny because
no.
when that happened yesterday, and I kind of see like you see Marner out, you see Tavares out. When in the chat, I was like, "All right, which Leafs player is going to have like 4 points tonight?" And
Mhm.
it was between McMahon and Domi, and I went Domi, and obviously it was McMahon. But like after I think the fourth time you see the Blues come down on a 2-on-1 and just carry the puck down on the goal line, I'm like, "All right, I've had enough of this crap," and
Yeah.
turned it off.
Yeah, well, and that was what the other one was I threw out there to you two. I said like Bertuzzi looks here, grabbing like a anytime goal scorer on him, and then himself having as many chances as he did, posts, net front opportunities, and just can't buy one. So tough night all around for the Edgeworth crew, but we'll bounce back here tonight, break down some of these games. The other thing that we want to get to about last night is Slavkovsky like God now? I'm seeing point comparisons. What was it? 92 games in the NHL. Him and Jack Hughes have the same point totals, same goal totals around there through their first. I'm not going to get the number exactly right, but it was between like 90 to 94 games. Their first
He's
90
making up for Kirby
something.
Doc winning the Hart. Keep coming.
What's going on with Slavkovsky? Where did this come from?
I can turn this into a real like fuck you to everyone who basically shit on him for the last 2 years, but like I will keep
Do
it
it.
civil. And
No,
basically
do it.
what matters here is that everyone reacting to a first overall pick because he played 30 games last year as an 18-year-old. This guy played 30 games, 18 years old. Big guys take time to adjust in the NHL. It takes some time to get their footing, it takes some time to get their confidence. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. This guy's 18 years old playing on the worst team in the NHL pretty much with injuries. When you factor in injuries and everything, this guy's surrounded by no talent. I mean, he's playing on like the third line last year with guys like Jake Evans. It's a disaster. He plays 30 games, gets hurt, Caulfield out for the year, Doc out for the year, all these guys out. He comes in, starts a little bit slower this year, but you can see the confidence start to pick up in his game, and you can see him start to really have his effect. The points weren't there, but you knew if he kept playing, kept that level of play up, the points would come. You got morons on Twitter like TML and Van and these loser accounts that are tweeting out like, oh, is Fraser Minton going to have more points than Slavkovsky this year? Fraser Minton sucks at hockey. This guy might not even be an NHLer, so we got to settle down on that one. Slavkovsky now is at a point where he is dominating pretty much every shift he steps on the ice. What the transition we have seen from this guy, from what he was last year to the points have started to come. Believe me, the points are coming now. They were always going to come. This guy is out here dominating every shift. He has elevated the guys around him, which is the sign of a great player. He's elevating Suzuki. He's elevating Slavkovsky. They have missed a guy like on their line. This is like Bergeron, Pasternak, and Marshall right now. This top line, man. Marshall has one line. They have nothing after this top line. It is miserable. It is completely miserable. They have no one else to rely on, and they're still winning games because this line just cannot stop scoring. And Slavkovsky is 19 years old. What we are seeing him do right now as a 19-year-old is insane. And I think to put this into context, you have to look at guys like Mikko Rantanen and stuff like that, and what they did at this point in their careers. This guy, the trajectory that he is on is insane. And I think people are still lost in the fact that he started slow and, oh, he was a first overall pick. So they're kind of holding to these different standards. What we're seeing from this guy, this 6'4", 220-pound power forward at 19 years old is nuts. The trajectory he is on, this guy is going to be a superstar in this league. And I think there are a lot of people out there. There are some receipts from a lot of people, myself included, who really wanted Shane Wright at the time. I'll put myself on blast too. I wanted Shane Wright. I wanted to have to draft Shane Wright. I figured you have a chance between a winger who kind of bursts onto the scene late or a center, a Canadian center. I want to take the Canadian center. Just historically, that's always been a good pick high up in drafts. I was wrong. The way he's developed has been insane. Everyone has been there's a lot of people that have some receipts and that still maybe if people haven't caught on to the fact of what this guy's doing. What he's doing right now is insane. The trajectory he's on is wild. He is going to be an absolute superstar in this league.
I was gonna back you up, but fuck you. What the hell was that ricochet shot that had to come across?
Because all these Leafs fans that are in my life, man, I got to deal with these Leafs fans in my group chat every day. Obviously, being from Toronto, everyone I talk to are Leafs fans. Before the season, Fraser Minton makes the team. I'm getting people texting me these tweets about, oh, Minton's better than Slavkovsky already, and Easton Cowan and all these guys. I'm like, guys, let's pump the brakes. This guy's 18 years old. Like, what are we doing? How are we judging this guy already? He's played 30 games in the league. He's 18 years old. What he's doing right now is insane. We haven't seen Nick Suzuki produce at a clip like this in a while. Nick Suzuki is a very good center. Very good defensive center, especially offensively.
Apparently, he's
more
Patrice Bergeron. The comparison you just made.
Yeah, pretty Patrice Bergeron light now. No, but honestly, Suzuki is more of a second line center in terms of his offense, or has been at least to this point. Defensively, he's fantastic, but since Slavkovsky's been on that line, this guy's producing at over a point per game pace. I don't think that's a coincidence. We've seen the playmaking ability. We've seen the shot now. We've seen how he can dominate along the boards and win puck battles. Create turnovers with his long reach. He's just such a smart player. And obviously, the plus minus is still a little bit low. I think he's been like minus 10 in 2024, even, despite playing very good hockey and like offensively putting up points. That's going to happen, I think, when you're still, you're a 19-year-old playing in this league on a top line. You're getting all the tough assignments. This is basically Montreal's only line. They have to get all the tough assignments. So I don't think you have to really worry about that part of the game. You can see the way he reads the game and the way he can create turnovers and win puck battles. I'll be the first to admit I was skeptical. I was skeptical for a while. I was like always trying to stay patient with him because he is young, he is big. It takes time to adjust. To see the way he has developed, not even just over the last 2 years, but just over the course of the last like 3 months, is wild. You can see the confidence in his game now, and I think that honestly, I don't think it's that bold to say that he is going to be an all-star for many years.
I still can't get over the Marchand Bergeron Pasternak comment.
As someone who I'm being a little bit, I'm joking around a little bit here. Let me have a little bit of fun. I've had no fun for like 4 or 5 years as a Habs fan, man. Just let me have a little bit here. Just give me a little something. Just give me a little something.
So I will say to all this, like, I think Rangers Twitter is a cesspool, but the stuff that you guys find, get involved in, show me, like all the stuff you guys send over, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would have deleted Twitter years ago. And Rangers Twitter is horrible. But like I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, I don't know either. We're
psychos.
Angry, not angry. We're always ready to go, I guess is the way to put it. We're always ready to go at any given moment. I'm ready to go. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah. I was about to defend, I was about to hop in and like be in support of Moretto's argument and be like, yeah, you know what, I agree with some of these points or like some of the stuff that he was saying, and then I just get fucking ricochet shot across the bow there for no good reason.
You're lucky there weren't more ricochets right there, because I was about to go into a whole thing about Matthew Nyes and how Leafs Twitter was comparing, which is an insane comparison, by the way. Like everyone's comparing Nyes.
I disavow those people. Disavow those people.
I know you do. And I think it's stupid too. But they're comparing Nyes to Slavkovsky. Nyes, who's 2 years older, who's playing on a much better team, who's playing on the top line of that team, surrounded by like Matthews and Marner. And then like all of a sudden he stops producing and Slavkovsky goes on this tear. And now you like kind of go back to those receipts. And I'm not doing it, but I see Habs Twitter and Leafs Twitter all the time. I see these Habs fans going back and being like, oh, what about your Nyes and Slavkovsky comparisons now? And instead of like just owning it and being like, yeah, we were probably wrong. Instead, it's like, yeah, imagine comparing your first overall pick with our second round pick. Well, you guys are the ones that fucking compared them in the first place. Like, oh God, I can't stand it, man. Can't stand it. Leafs fans are the worst. Habs fans aren't that much better either, though. So, I'll own that.
Well, at least you know what, Moretto, we're part of big fan bases that care about our teams and actually show up to games and aren't half full, and our arenas are in good spots, and we have competent owners, and our teams are not accidentally in the bottom 5 of the NHL. But anyways, that's a conversation for another time. One more topic before we can get into today's games and today's picks. Before we do, please hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel. Alber, I got to ask you about it because I tweeted at you last night, mostly joking as well. If people don't know what I do at this point, a lot of trolling going on there. But we saw a tweet that came out about, should the Rangers trade Shesterkin? It was obviously a joke that was made by Paul Bissonnette on the Spin Chicklets podcast. It was very clearly a joke for those people who don't understand it. But What's going on with the goalie situation in New York? How do you guys handle this going forward? It's just circling back here. Like, what's the decisions that are going to be made about goaltending there when you look at those two guys in net, and how you're going to kind of position yourselves to go into the playoffs? Whether you're going to choose which guy's going to be the one and which guy's going to be the backup there.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm going to bite my tongue on Paul Bissonnette, or I'm going to get us taken off air permanently.
This is the best, man.
Yeah, what the fuck?
How could you come at
I
this
Of
like
all the
that?
people that
I
have
can't do
beef
it.
Like,
with,
what the hell?
I can't do it. He has the IQ of a peanut. Like, nothing he says is worth even one single shit. Like,
Just
especially
keep
when it
digging a
comes to
bigger
the
hole.
Rangers, all he's
Yeah.
trying to do is troll. Like, he's a clown, dude.
He is a content god, man.
He's a
He's
clown.
great at what he does.
He's a clown, and the fact that, like, I can't go.
anyways, goaltending.
Goaltending. God, I hate him. It's Igor's net come playoffs. I mean, there is a large subset of Ranger fans that are still saying it is Quick's net come playoffs, unless Igor is like turning into the Igor of 2 years ago, which is just not going to happen. Like, it was like one of the best runs that any goalie has ever been on. It's Igor's net come playoffs. And look, like, Quick's had a very good year, but you also have to look at the fact that he's not starting 70% of games. Like, he's in this diminished role, which for someone who at this point is, I think, 36 years old, like, is the role that he needs to be in. But if you start putting him in as their everyday goalie, like, it's just not the same thing. It's just it's way more of a toll on your body at this point. But their ceiling is not as high, obviously, with Quick. So it's like, when you look at kind of going forward and coming towards the playoffs, like, you're only making a run if Igor kind of finds that form, right? So, like, as great as it is that Quick's been good, especially while Igor's been struggling, it's Igor's net. And even Laviolette came out and said that last week. Like, anyone that thinks it's Quick's net going forward is just out of their minds. Obviously, like, the Igor trade thing is just total nonsense for clicks and that kind of garbage. But no, it's Igor's net, and it will become playoffs. Like, there's just no way you can't make that decision to go away from him unless he's like hurt, or it turns into, like, I don't know, a complete pumpkin, right? Like, there's just no way you can do that.
All right, well, there you go. I needed to give Jeremy some Rangers talk radio. I know he's not in here right now watching live, but he will be watching back, and we'll be thankful that we've done this for him. So there you go. There is your breakdown of last night, some Slavkovsky talk, some comparisons to one of the greatest defensive centers in NHL history. And
No,
as
that
well.
was comparing Suzuki to
I know.
Okay.
I heard a Nico rant.
Slap is Pasternak in this situation,
Yes,
all right?
yes, I got that, as well as some Rangers talk. Let's get into the games here today. There are 3, so we'll go through each one of them, and potentially the Undertaker makes a return here. We'll see. We'll find out. But make sure to hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel while you are watching. We appreciate all the support, appreciate everyone who's here right now. Let's first and foremost start out in Winnipeg, where we are seeing a massive number on the Jets, minus 435, best price available for Winnipeg there against the San Jose Sharks here tonight. San Jose coming in plus 370 in this one. We're seeing a total of 5.5. You can find some plus money on the under 5.5s there. Pretty widely available. Moretto, what are your thoughts on where this total is currently sitting at? And are we going to be getting anywhere close to having some type of disgusting brothers play on the Sharks here tonight against the Jets?
Don't know about that, but
Yeah.
for Brett here, we're gonna have a total that maybe loses by 6 when the Jets win like
Why not?
9-4.
Just do
Yeah,
it.
this is an under. I'm on the under here. I haven't checked the line since we came on the show. Do you still have plus money available? Pretty widely available?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, this is
Very
an under
widely
5.
available.
All right, perfect. Honestly, Sharks have been generating a lot more offense. They've been playing some more high event hockey, but you have to take that with a grain of salt. One, that's kind of schedule based a little bit, and 2, now they are without Thomas Hertl and Logan Couture, both of whom got re-injured or injured, whatever, over the All-Star break. They were with the team the last time they played, which was over 2 weeks ago, and now they are both supposed to be out tonight. This lineup without those 2 guys is, I mean, with those 2 guys, it's miserable. Without those 2 guys, it's like very hard to look at. We got a first line with Fabian Zetterlund, Mikhail Granlund, and Anthony Duclair, Luke Kunin on the second line. It's miserable. don't see them generating much against a solid defensive team. And then once they do, they have to get past Hellebuck, which you don't anticipate ending too well. Jets offensively kind of drying up a little bit. They're also like taking on the sort of team that like needs to create a lot to score goals. So yeah, I don't look at them as a high offensive, high octane sort of team. Getting 5.5 here at plus money is a little bit too much. Should be closer to about even -110, -110. So I will take this under here. And yeah, hopefully for Brett, there's 11 goals.
There you go. The widely available plus 100. And as Peter said, almost too widely available. Those available in like every book that we pulled up. Won't be for long after everyone in the Edgework chat goes and hits that under 5.5 at plus money. Alber, what are your thoughts on this game here tonight? And are you going to be in support of this under here?
Yeah, how about Winnipeg Jets -435 for a 5-unit banger to get everything from last night back? No, I'm on the under too. For a lot of the reasons that he said, right? Like the Sharks, without those two guys, especially, like who's going to generate offense, let alone against a team like the Jets, who even though their scoring has dried up, are still playing very good defensive hockey. Mm-hmm. And then even when they do get chances, like obviously you got Hellebuck in there who's having like a Vezina season right now. No, I agree. Anything at plus money, I think, is good. Someone in there said Sharks haven't played in 2 weeks. Like the Jets also haven't played in like 4 days. So I think they're both going to come in pretty rested there too. But yeah, I'm on the under here too. Anything at plus money.
All right, perfect. Moretto, how does that make you feel? Rubber stamped by Matt there.
I feel better having a rubber stamp by Matt Alber than Matt Russell right now. So no, I'm just upset that I have to take accountability for those at the start of this show. You should have been here for the first 5 minutes.
Hey, every week we're throwing like these -1.5 parlays on Zach. This one's your turn.
Fair enough. I know.
Fair enough.
All right, let's keep going here. 2 more games tonight. We got the Penguins next hosting the Florida Panthers here. Pittsburgh +113, the Panthers -120, a total of 6. There are some spatterings of 5.5s out there, but those would be heavily juiced to the over on those. Matt, what are your thoughts on this game, the total? Do you have any bets in this one?
I don't have any bets, but I'm actually kind of excited to watch this game. I think it should be pretty good. I do want to see kind of how the Penguins look, kind of taking a bit of a step up here compared to some of the recent games. They went through a stretch. They had like Arizona. I know they had Minnesota in there. So I'd love to see how they kind of do here. Florida, I mean, we think they're an elite team, right? Like I just can't back the Penguins here, but I also can't lay Florida like -130. But no, I'm excited to watch this game, but I won't have a bet on it.
Well, Moretto, anything for you here?
Yeah, I wish we got a better price on the Panthers because I really do want to be on the Panthers. I don't know. I'm kind of out on Pittsburgh. Just like they keep trying to pull me back in. And
oh, shocker. You're out on Pittsburgh, eh?
They've been unable to sustain it. Yeah, I'm out on Dubas. I'm out on Pittsburgh. They've been unable to sustain anything, though. Like Matt just mentioned their schedule, and this is how this is going to be a step up for them. Like even with that pretty weak schedule they've had recently, their underlying numbers are pretty gross. Like they're not good. This is just not a team that's playing great hockey. I think Florida are worlds better than them. That being said, it's not exactly a price that I'm dying to sort of pay here. And yeah, I mean, I think that, the fact that the Pens are still like somewhat rested-ish, just, with an older team, the fact that they did have that break, they've only had a few games back from the break, it does work in their favor a bit here too. But I think the Pens are, I don't know, they can't seem to string together any sort of good stretch here to pull themselves back into the race. They might be a team that I fade a little bit more going forward, but just don't quite like the price to do it tonight.
All right, well, final game here, and as well, we will recap any bets that are given out here. We do have one so far, but we'll recap anything that's given out throughout the show at the very, very end. As well, you can find us over in the BetStamp app in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ if you do want to track all the picks or you want to break them down, see what we've done on daily, weekly, monthly basis, see what we've done this season, or you want to break it out, sides, totals, spreads, whatever it is. You can find it all in there in the BetStamp app in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ. But final game of the night here tonight, the Arizona Coyotes hosting the Minnesota Wild. Arizona +106, the Wild -117, and a total of 6 here tonight. Moretto, what are your thoughts on this game? Is there any involvement for you? Is there any interest at all in this one?
The Wild have some real like Detroit Red Wings vibes to them right now, where they're playing like shit, but somehow getting results and somehow scoring goals. And I am waiting for the other shoe to drop in Detroit, and just like I am now waiting for the other shoe to drop for the Wild. And I don't agree with this price necessarily. I don't think they should be favorites fully, like to this extent at least. Coyotes are not playing great, but they're playing respectable hockey over the last month or so. They're playing slightly better than the Wild. I just can't. I don't know. It's just I struggle to bet against Minnesota right now. This is like a Red Wings situation where I'm kind of like somewhat learning my lesson here with the Red Wings and betting these unders and how they just keep finding ways to score goals despite generating nothing and getting caved regularly. The Wild are doing the same thing, and so I want to kind of step in front of that right now, and not really. So I strongly lean towards the Coyotes at this price, but I just haven't pulled the trigger, and I don't know that I will.
Well, where do you need it to get to for you to start to have that interest or say, like, I'm in?
If we get to like a plus 110-ish, I'll probably be more inclined. I probably will at that point just because it's a small slate, and at the end of the day, I'm going to want something to watch late at night here. So maybe I would, but I don't know. I mean, the Wild are playing pretty bad hockey, and they're still getting these results. It's pretty gross, and I don't know. Yeah, probably 110ish or something like that, and I would start to get involved. But like you look at some of their recent results, I don't know where the game on Monday against the Vegas, Minnesota actually played great, and I don't know where that kind of came from. So I don't know if that's the start of like maybe a late push for a playoff spot here, even though they're pretty far out. It's honestly, even if we get plus 110, like maybe it will be a smaller play for me. I don't anticipate getting involved like significantly in this game.
All right. Anything for you here, Matt?
So he echoed a lot of what I wanted to say. The only thing I can really kind of add to that is what a step down in class this is for Arizona here. Like the last 9 games, Vancouver, Nashville, Pittsburgh, Florida, Tampa, Carolina, Vegas, and then Nashville and Philly. And now you get Minnesota, who I think we both agree is like a bottom 8-ish team in the league. It's certainly Coyotes or nothing. I need a little bit better number. I'm kind of in the same boat, like plus 110 or so. If someone likes the Wild and comes in, I'll get involved. But I'm tired of betting against the Wild, truthfully.
It's the first time you've shown some respect to the Predators. I appreciate that.
No, they suck.
Wow.
No,
they're so close.
I'm so no. You want to talk about teams I'm tired of betting, being involved in their games? Like, what the hell was that last night? You're playing the team on the back-to-back with travel, with a goalie who's also playing back-to-back, and you get outshot like 50-19 or whatever that ended up being. Like, no, Nashville stinks.
The Devils are a bit of a juggernaut though with Hughes in the lineup. Offensively, they're I don't take the team overall that seriously just because I don't think they're going to get the saves in the end for it to matter really. But
how about that?
They
Markstrom rumor yesterday that came out.
Yeah,
that it got axed because of salary retention.
No trade clause, and deal fell apart. Good.
That
would have been scary for you as a Rangers fan if they got Markstrom. If they get Markstrom, I think they become favorites. And it doesn't matter for you guys anyways because Tampa's going to finish in that wild card 1, and they're going to run train on you guys in the first round. Yeah.
Shut up. No, we actually had this debate the other night. Would you rather the Devils trade for somebody like Markstrom, or like I'm almost more afraid that they go to Nashville and somehow get Saros, honestly. Yeah. Like I think that's a real possibility. I forget
Jake Allen.
Guy's name they have coming up right now. Stop it. But it's like
that.
You rarely see these goalie trades in season, but this does feel like the time where it will happen, right? Like the rest of the team there is very, very good. You get to the playoffs, and like I think you'd expect Dougie Hamilton to be back at that point. Like I think, unless I'm missing someone, I think the Devils would be fully healthy going into the playoffs, but they just have this gaping hole in net right now. Like this isn't even like an Oilers situation where you don't really have much else to give. Like over the past few years, like the Devils have a lot of young guys and prospects coming up that they could easily give to get a goalie. And if they get somebody, like they're immediately in the cup contender category at that point. So it's like I am very afraid of the Devils kind of making a trade for a big goalie here.
Yeah, I
Otherwise,
agree. I think that they also have like it's like you look at some of these other teams, you're like, it's nice to add this. It's nice to add this piece. That it'll help you here. Like that's the one where it's like, no. Everywhere else, like you're pretty good. There's one hole that this change or improvement can drastically change things or help you out. But
Yeah.
and it's
yeah,
the one
it's
where like
interesting.
you actually have the ability to do it. Like I was saying with the Oilers,
Yeah,
like, for years everyone would be like the Oilers and the Leafs, like you know this, right? They'd be like, oh, we need a goalie, we need somebody to get saves. Like, who are you giving up to get that? You look at the
yeah,
Devils, and it's like they have multiple guys, not even in the NHL right now, that teams would love to have and like would love to build around that plus picks to give up like a Markstrom or a Saros or not Jake Allen. Stop it. But like they
We'll
are
give
in a
him
spot
Jake
to be able
Allen
to
for
do
like a
this.
third.
Well, do you think the Devils circle back on that deal? Do you think that they find a way to get it done with Markstrom there? Let's talk Markstrom specifically, not a goaltender. Markstrom specifically. We know he
I'm
waived
sure
it. We
they'll
know he was
keep
ready
at
to
it. I
go.
don't
That
know
trade was
how
there, but
dead it
If you
actually is.
So,
Like,
and this is where I just don't know enough. Like, salary retention was the issue. Was the issue that the Flames would not retain salary? Because if so, you just find a third team and you give them a pick or whatever to eat a couple mil, and then it's done, right? Like,
right.
if that's the issue, I think it absolutely gets done. If it was that they just didn't want to give that extra price to get there, like, I think that'd be
well, the
stupid, right?
Flames have
Like, if the
currently
difference of
used none of their retention spots. Like they have used none, and teams get 3. So I don't know if that was necessarily the issue. Maybe it was just the fact that they didn't want to retain salary. If in which point, like you can probably circle back and either up your offer to get them to convince them to retain, or you can, again, like you said, get a third team to broker it.
well, that's kind of what it sounded like. It almost sounded like the Flames would have retained, but they wanted more, which, yeah, you should be getting more in the trade to do that. And the Devils didn't want to do that, which
I
is
get the Flames
insane if
not
I'm a
wanting to
Devils fan.
retain much though, because there's
I do
2
too,
years
because they may
left
have to
after
retain
this,
him.
and like they're not in a situation where a lot of teams who would be trading like their franchise goalies, so to speak, would be rebuilding, right? They're not rebuilding right now. They're like
Is that
kind of being
retool?
forced into a retool here, yeah, where they have a lot of impending UFAs who like just don't necessarily want to re-up there, which is why they're kind of being forced into moving them. But like they have too many guys like that are big pieces, like obviously like Huberdeau, like Kadri, like a Backlund who they just re-signed, who like you're not going to move Uyghur to, you're not going to move them. You can't move them. You can't rebuild with guys like that signed long term, right? So you kind of have to like do things on the fly here. So like I get not wanting to sort of handcuff yourselves and like eat 2 million of that 6 million for the next 2 years or something like that, unless you're like really being paid a premium to do so.
Well, that's what it is. It's that he's not a pending UFA. It's the fact that they do have 2 more years, and you kind of look at it, and it's like, I think a lot of people expect them to move Tanev and probably retain this year. But you even look to like the next couple of years, they have a lot of pending UFAs coming up. And you know what? Like,
Yeah.
I think we agree that this year they're not going full sell mode, although I do think they continue to sell more and end up missing the playoffs. Like, are they going to sign Mangiapane after next year if they're struggling? Are they going to re-sign Kuzmenko next year? Like, Sharon Govich? What are they going to do with Hannafin? Like, there are a lot of these guys out here that I get why they do not want to be the ones to retain on Markstrom. But at the same time, like, I do think it makes some sense for them to move him, being that they obviously have Wolf coming up, being that Markstrom's now 34, being that a team like the Devils, like, they eventually, I believe that they will pay a lot for a goalie here. It just, if I'm a Devils fan, I can't get around the fact that what would it cost you? Like an extra second round pick to have that salary retained, like a third, something like that. Like if that's the difference between starting Vitek Vanacek or what's his name, Nico Dawes in game 1 of the playoffs versus
Yeah.
Jacob Markstrom, like I would be, and then having him another 2 years, I'd be furious. So like, I just don't, I think it does come back around. I don't know where it ends up getting done, but like, I do think if I'm Calgary, if I'm Nashville, like there are teams that could use these goalies, and you do have suitable replacements coming up that I think make a little bit more sense in where you are now and are probably going to be like kind of hitting their peak, I guess, for a much cheaper price when you are actually ready to contend. And you can get like a king's ransom for those guys at this point.
All right, well, recapping the picks that we have for today, we only have the one here. So, as Peter said, something to watch after the Jets win this one 7-5. That'll be great for considering we've got here our one bet of the night, the Sharks Jets under 5.5 plus 100. We have a full unit on that one, but Sharks Jets under 5.5 plus 100 was widely available there. So, hopefully, we can get things back on track. Let's just go 1-0. Keep it simple, pick off one at a time here. Fuck. Pick off one at a time. Under
Fire
five and a
alarm
half.
is every
Plus,
day in your building now.
this is insane. And we went the entire show without anything happening. I'm going to give it to you guys here for one last comment before we leave. We're talking about some of the futures prices, some things popping up as we approach the trade deadline here. People might want to be able to get ahead of some of these moves, find some numbers before they start to happen, especially with teams that we're anticipating will be making trades or going to be looking to add at this deadline or as we approach. Peter asked here, any Stanley Cup numbers stand out at current prices? Moretto, I'll let you go first.
I have to pull up these couple odds here. I haven't looked at them. I got them here. 12-1 on the Stars. I don't know. I'm just looking at one book right now, so I maybe you can shop around and find even better. I don't know if that's the best price available. Either way, that's a good price for sure. I don't think they should be in that like 10 to 12-1 range. I think they should be a little bit shorter. Edmonton, the ship has sailed to buy on them. I'm not really looking to buy the Bruins at these prices. Same with Colorado, unless they can address their goaltending situation. Canucks, I think, hope somebody's not watching, slightly overvalued still. I don't think the market is fully caught up to them. Rangers are going to get bounced by Tampa on the first round. Honestly, Tampa 30-1 is not. I like that quite a bit. I don't know if they're going to necessarily win the cup, but like they have a lot of room to do something right now with Sergachev on LTIR. Obviously, Sergachev's a huge loss, but like now gives them the flexibility to take a big swing too. So, yeah, I think this team is built for the playoffs. Kucherov's just on another level right now. Vasilevsky is more than capable of getting hot. They're going to be a little bit more rested come playoff time this year based on what happened last year. I still think they're deeper up front than they have been in years past. So 30-1 on the Lightning and maybe like around 12-1-ish on the Stars, both decent bets.
Matt, we know that you've been adding to some of your positions, miss playoffs. So I don't know if there's any numbers out there currently available that you would recommend of those, or if there's any Stanley Cup numbers as well out there that you're taking a look at right now.
So I'm going to be broke when the Flyers make the playoffs is the first one. Like all these plus 130s, plus 140s, I've kept adding in recent weeks. Like even yesterday, Emily Kaplan tweets how they're going to like trade some roster players or something. I'm like, all right, well, here we go again. I do agree on the Tampa thing. I actually like looking a little bit more towards the East at around, I think it's 13-14-1 than necessarily the West. I just think the West is a lot stronger than the East this year, especially those teams up at the top. I also kind of do like the path they might have coming through. Like there's a lot of teams in the East with a lot of question marks. Like the Bruins don't look great lately. Like the Rangers obviously have holes. Carolina has a massive hole in net. Jersey has a massive hole in net. Like even Florida, they'll look great for a stretch. And I think a lot of us believe that they're probably the best team in the East, but then they have these games that they just look bad. So I think like even them, they have some holes. That said, I did also get on, I think it was Florida to have the most points in the East at, I think it was plus 230. I'd have to check that. But at this point, they're, I think, 4 points back with a game in hand. And again, those teams around them just have so many issues. I do think they are the most complete team. But between them and Tampa, I think those are where the two are now. But like just kind of going back to Tampa, they've shown that they are going to add every single year while they have this core. So you talk about losing Sergachev and it opening up options for them. Like they're absolutely going to take a swing. Like maybe this makes them like make a big offer to Calgary for a Noah Hanifin or something along those lines, right? Like there's a lot of guys out there. There's Anthony Mantha out there. There's going to be Vladimir Tarasenko out there. Like they will make a big swing here. So I do think if you like Tampa, I would try to get in here before obviously they kind of make a deal like that. But no, I do expect that.
All right, final thing before we wrap up the show here. I want to say it because we gave predictions yesterday to end the show. Moretto and I both said 5-game suspensions. We were both right on those. I'll give my thoughts. If you guys disagree or want to jump in, feel free to. But just kind of final wrap up on the 5-game suspension handed out to Morgan Riley yesterday. We won't bring it up again. I'm fine with 5 games. I think 5 games in an isolated incident, is probably fair. 5 games in an isolated incident is probably fair. Outside of the 5,
Zach's
yes.
building telling him to shut
Are we
the
seeing
fuck up.
this right now? Oh my
man.
god. All right. 5 games I think is probably fair for what he got. My problem with this is not about like looking at this one incident and saying 5 games yes or no. It's looking at the overall situation that George Peros has. Yo, this is insane. It's looking at the entire body of work that George Peros has put together here as the guy that's leading the Department of Player Safety. I think that the only problem for me is that you look at the 5 and you just say, okay, this is the standard moving forward. 5 games is fine. Yeah. Yeah. 5 games, it's fine. But the problem is, okay, now this is the standard that you've set. You move forward with this, and you have to reasonably base other suspensions and incidents off of what you're at right now with this 5 games. The wording that was put into that, into the suspension that was given out, that's fine. I'm fine with how you've kind of broken things down and and how you've assessed this play by Morgan Riley and what you've given out. But the problem is now, how are you going to assess things moving forward? I just need consistency because I've been very open about it. It doesn't matter whether it's Leafs or Habs or Rangers players or whatever. I don't really care, but George Peros has been a complete and utter disgrace to the Department of Player Safety. I genuinely think every time he makes a decision, Princeton should be upset that he is an alumni of their school, that he went there and he represents them, because I think he is a complete and utter clown that is running that operation in there. It's just a complete disgrace of what's going on for the NHL, the NHLPA, and everything moving forward. I just want consistency. That's all. 5 games is fine. I expected that. I thought that was what was going to happen when they said the in-person hearing. Figure it out moving forward. I want consistency because he's been a disaster in that office, and I don't think people can really strongly disagree with that.
Except for the fire alarm.
Yeah, the fire alarm disagrees.
Yeah, except
hard.
for the fire alarm. All right.
I
don't know if you guys
agree.
have thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I get the 5 games. You see it when every time something happens, you go on Twitter, the first thing you see is everyone trying to compare it to other events. And the one I kept seeing was, and one of you sent this over, is like some cross-check. I think it was last year, a couple of years ago, on Jimmy VC when he was a Leaf. Like the most comparable thing to this to me was David Perron on Zoom a couple months ago. Like after the play, clearly just nothing other than trying to injure the guy. And I believe that got 5 games as well. Maybe it got 6. So like that was the most comparable thing I saw. So while there is almost no consistency, I agree generally. I think they got that one right because those two were very comparable. That's what I agree. Like there's no consistency on, like, especially when it comes to like the headshots and stuff. Like I was shocked that Gallagher didn't get more for that one a couple weeks ago. Like there is no consistency, but I do think that they got this one right. And generally speaking, I do think they've come down hard and somewhat consistent on these after the play, like blatant cheap shots that had nothing to do with the play going on at all. So from that, I do think they got it right, but I agree. Like I just want more consistency in general.
Yeah, and that's fine. You want to come down hard on it, come down hard on it. I got no problem with that. Like, you want to hand out 5-6 games for these? That's fine. Like, again, I don't have a problem with Morgan Riley having gotten this 5-game suspension. I think that that's fine. It's literally just the consistency of things. Like, even whether things are even lightly handed out, like, Matt, I don't think you can sit there and say that Trouba's slash to the head is actually $5,000 fine, whether he meant to or not. I think that there has to be like a standard set in place of like, dude, you got to be careful with your stick here and how you're going to use it. And even if it's like, yo, it was a mistake, he didn't mean to, which, if that's the argument, that's fine. I could hear it out and get behind that. But like $5,000 compared to like 1 game, like even that is a drastic difference. So I just need consistency. I'm going to shut up because this alarm's fucking going nuts and I feel bad for you guys and people listening.
So just to go on your point on Jacob Trouba, like obviously he's done a lot of, let's call it, questionable shit over the last few years. And they finally got him for what I think most would say it was probably like the least bad thing he's done. more or less. But I do think at some point there needs to be like okay, you've towed the line, you've towed the line, you've towed the line. Well, now we finally had enough. Like, screw you, right? Like, and that's why when he did get suspended for that, I didn't really have an issue with it, even though like it wasn't as bad as some of the other stuff that he's just been fined for. Like, not even close, right? Like, and it's hard when you've had just that many instances to eventually not expect a suspension. So I actually don't mind that when that one kind of came across. Like, there just is a point where you got to suspend the guy. But no, I agree. There needs to be more consistency. But at the same time, when you talk repeat offenders, like Trouba was a repeat offender, basically, right? Like, his shit comes up over and over and over and over and over again. So guys like that, like I'm never going to be upset when they finally get dinged for something that, like, frankly, was not that bad.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for today's show. I wanted to give my thoughts on the suspension. Battled through it there. Apologize, guys. I thought we were done with the fire alarms, but clearly not. They wait till like 5 minutes after 11 to start firing up. Appreciate everyone who tuned into the show here today. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel. Reminder, we do have a watch along coming up. First watch along here on this channel tomorrow night. We'll be doing that during the Habs game, the Rangers game, the Leafs game as well. So all of that will be watched amongst some of the creators across Edgework. Make sure to tune into that. Turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. But 3 games tonight. We do have one best bet. So for everyone out there, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. Matt, Alex, thank you guys for taking the time to do this here this morning. To everyone in the chat, thanks for showing up. Enjoy the games tonight. Good luck on your bets.